Hi, everyone. I'm your host, Dave Sands. Welcome to the Food Origins podcast. I'll be talking to people about their unique stories with food. And as a quick reminder, the restaurants and gear talked about on each episode can be found on my website, foodoriginspodcast.com. I appreciate your support. And thanks for listening. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Food Origins podcast. Today, my guests are Be'Anka Ashaolu and her husband, Dap. Be'Anka is the co-founder, and Dap is the COO and CFO of Nirvana Soul Coffee Purveyors. Nirvana Soul is a San Jose-based coffee company bringing exciting flavor, bold inspiration, and undeniable joy to Silicon Valley and beyond. Founded by sisters and best friends, Jeronica Macey and Be'Anka Ashaolu, Nirvana Soul's mission is to bring people together using the power of coffee and tea. This podcast was recorded on location at Nirvana Soul's Coffee, their first location in the Sofa District in downtown San Jose. In their family business through and through, I was fortunate enough to sit down and talk with Dap and his wife Be'Anka about their origins with food growing up, being raised up in San Jose, the history of Nirvana Soul, and everything they offer from coffee, tea, and waffles. At the time of the release of this podcast, they are currently working on a third location at San Jose State University inside the Dr. Martin Luther King Library. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the show. Awesome. We're rolling. We are live here on location in San Jose at Nirvana Soul Coffee Purveyors in downtown San Jose. I'm here with Be'Anka. She's the co-founder and the CMO, marketing officer, and Dap. It was the CFO and the COO, and we know you're a chef as well. So appreciate you guys being here. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and let's get into it. Introduce yourselves, tell us where you're from and your background and all that good stuff. Either one can go first.
I'm Be'Anka. I'm born and raised in San Jose. Went to schools here. Went to Gunderson High School. I'm a marketer by profession. I'm a Cancer zodiac and just learned that my moon and rising's in Virgo, which is cool. I still have my day job right now. I work in marketing for a tech company, but also I work here at Nirvana Soul. So I'm the person who's responding to all of our social media, doing all of our posting there. I work closely with our project manager, Letty, now, who is supporting us in marketing. So any of the events and things that we're running, we're pretty collaborative on that too. So that's me.
Yeah, and I'm Dap. I'm the CFO and COO. And a waffle master. We have some great waffles here that I helped create. But yeah, my background is I'm from San Jose, also born and raised. I went to Oak Grove High School, went to San Jose State. Actually, previously was in finance and management. And when Be'Anka and Jeronica started Nirvana Soul, I said, I'm jumping on the train. I'm ready to go. And so been here since then, and yeah.
And how do you guys know each other?
I was just going to add, Dap and I are married. We've been married for 10 years. We've been together almost 17, 18?
17.
Yeah.
Good long years.
We've been together a really long time. So this is a family business through and through.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Congrats. That's awesome.
Thank you.
I didn't want to make any assumptions, but I figured,
no, it's okay. We
I figured as
often
much.
need to tell people because people are like, what's going on? Are they like super friendly? Or what is that?
Really good
We're
friends.
so professional.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't think we told the staff explicitly that we were married for a while, and then
They got kind of sad about it, like we were leaving them out. Yeah.
And then they found out, they're like, really? Thought you guys were just really good friends with the same last name.
And now is Dap a nickname for?
Yeah,
How did you get Dap?
Short for Dapo, which
Okay.
is a Nigerian name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so it's not much shorter. But
Okay.
it's
And that's
short.
your ethnic background,
Correct.
Nigerian?
Yes, not yet.
And Be'Anka, what's your background?
Just black.
All right.
Plain old beautiful black.
There we go.
Yep.
Awesome. And then, I kind of get into, with, obviously this is about food, and of course coffee is a huge part of that. What is something, I get into your childhood eats, like what did you grow up eating and what was that like? We can start with Be'Anka.
So I was thinking about this earlier. We ate a lot of food that could feed us for a few days. My mom worked a lot. She raised us by herself. So I'm the middle child. Jeronica's older by 11 months. And then we have a younger brother as well, who's about 3 years younger than me. And so she would do a lot of spaghetti. My mom would do a lot of spaghetti, a lot of lasagna, things she could make in big batches. And we often do our spaghetti with fried chicken wings. And so that is a very classic black meal. I come to find out. I thought it was just a meal in our household, but I've told that a few folks, and they're like, yeah, that's what we ate. We also spend a lot of time with our grandmother, and so she also is a huge influence on Nirvana Soul. And she had this bread she would make in a pan that was almost like a pancake but more dense, and we would eat it with syrup as well. And I haven't had that since she passed, but it was such a big part of our childhood, and now something Jeronica wants to figure out so we can bring that back around. So yeah, if we weren't eating at home, there was fast food. We're busy, we're on the go. I'm not a cook, so I don't typically feed myself. Jeronica's a great cook. She can look in the fridge and see anything in there and make something. I'm like, I gotta go to the grocery store and follow a recipe exactly. Otherwise, yeah, I'm just not. That's not what I do. So I was lucky because of Jeronica, and then also because of Dap, because he cooks too.
Yeah, and just so everyone knows, Jeronica Macey is Be'Anka's sister, and she's not here with us today, but she is also the CEO of Nirvana Soul Coffee, so they're the founders together. And Dab, your background in childhood eats?
Yeah, so my family is from Nigeria, and so my childhood eats consisted very similar to Be'Anka's background, like food that we could eat for a long time. Both of my parents worked and worked a lot, and so we were often home by ourselves having to figure out what to eat. And so my mom would make like pots of stew, like Nigerian stew that you could put over rice, you could eat with bread, you could put it in the fridge and it lasted, a week, and you could do a few different things with it. We also ate like the staple of, I think, stay-at-home kids foods like corn dogs and top ramen and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, bologna sandwiches, all of that stuff. So that's probably what I grew up on. And then I would say like probably around the age when I was like maybe 10 or 11, I used to go over to a good friend of mine, my best friend's house, and his dad was from New Orleans. And he was like, he cooked in the house, which was like new for me because Nigerians are pretty traditional. So my dad like never cooked. Like I think I saw him like use a pot like 3 times in my life. and so his dad would like cook like all the meals. And so I like kind of really got into it. And so I like would watch him, and then sometimes he'd let me help him. And then when he wasn't around and I was at my friend's house, like he was like, yeah, if you want, you could cook. And so I would like cook over at his house. And then I started making food at my house as well. And so I'd make stuff like spaghetti and, like I was really into breakfast food. So I'd make, omelets and things like that. And that's kind of where like my love for cooking
That's where it started, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then we'll get into your great-grandmother because that's part of the huge inspiration for Nirvana Soul. And then like, that's kind of, did you get formal training later?
So no, I never actually had formal training. I'm like a self-taught, chef. And so, I just pretty much like would read through like classic cookbooks and just try like all the like technical, dishes that I could. So like going through like the different mother sauces and, learning like, okay, how to braise and, how to saute and do different things that way. And then kind of just really, like started more recently getting more into, like fusing things that I like together. And so like, whether it's like Italian food and traditional black cuisine or, even going into, some Nigerian spices and, using that with like other like traditional French dishes, things like that. I'm like kind of into right now.
That's awesome. And then I usually ask, when you're a kid, you kind of, you're fed a lot of different things. Are there anything you didn't like at all? You're like, oh, this is...
I'm not a particularly picky eater, but my family is Southern, and there's some things in that Southern cookbook that should stay, like chitlins or pork feet or I mean, I would even throw
How
like something in there like Brussels sprouts. Like back then, Brussels sprouts were not what they are today, right? They've really gone through a whole rebrand.
They have.
But yeah, I would say those were the only things that I'd be like, I can't do it. But otherwise, like, I eat just about everything.
Yeah, like, do you like okra?
No.
Yeah.
Okra is another one of those things that I
okay.
can't get beyond the sliminess of it.
Mm-hmm.
Though a mutual friend of ours, Dom, who works with us, he just made some gumbo with okra, and he said that I may have just been eating it wrong. So, you know, I'm open to give it another shot because he's like, it can be done, prepared in a way where it's not.
It's
so
true.
slimy.
Courtney has the same thing. He's from Albany, Georgia. He's my first guest. He said the same thing about okra. He's like, I haven't had it in a way I can stomach it.
Yeah.
And then I sent him a picture. We went to izakaya yakitori place, and they grill it. They just grill it, so it's not slimy at all, and it kind of has like that. Kind of like if you grill the pepper, it kind of has a little bit of oil to it. And I was like, oh, that's okay. Like, I mean, I don't like it either. Like, I know what you mean about the slime. Like, it's a lot of other fruits and vegetables. When they have that, you're just like, it's just not appetizing. But
Agreed.
if you can get past it. But and then I sent it to him. He's like, maybe I'll try it.
Yeah.
That's interesting with the okra because in Nigerian, or at least in Nigerian cuisine, they eat kind of a dish. It has a couple of different names, but like iya or fufu. It's like pounded yam. So it's basically like mashed potatoes, but with yam. And then it has like more of like a texture that's like that you can kind of like ball it into like a ball and it sticks.
Stretchy.
It's more stretchy. And then you eat it with different types of stews. So like the red stew that my mom would make, that'd usually be like one part of it. And then you had other stews that you'd make. So one would be like a vegetable stew that you'd use like spinach, and then like a cassava melon seed that they would like grind up, and then you would eat in that. And then another big one was an okra one. And the okra one was actually very unique because of the slime. So it actually had like a function. So like the way you would eat that, the fufu is you would like ball it up into a little ball. You put some of the stew on it, and then you would eat it, but you wouldn't really chew it. You just swallow it. And because of the sliminess of the okra, it would make it a lot easier to just like swallow
digest,
it. To just swallow it and for it to go down.
Yeah.
To hear people, I wasn't a fan. That wasn't my favorite of the stews. I would always pick the red stew and the vegetable stew first. Those are like.
Can you give us a little bit of what's in the red stew? Like, I've never had it.
So the red stew is actually, it's like a classic. The more and more I started to like get into to cooking, and you start to see that like there's a lot of like crossover in cuisine. So it's pretty much it's like a blend of peppers, onions, tomatoes. So I guess you would call it in like other cooking, you would call it a I'm sorry, my mind's going blank, but when you're making it's kind of like the Trinity, but like in Spanish cooking. I don't know why I can't remember. But basically, basically you take it, you blend it up, and then you fry it almost in oil, and then you add like beef, chicken, fish to it, and so that's pretty much what it is. And so, but you can add like a lot of different flavors to it, and it's kind of the base of like jollof rice, which is probably like the most like well-known West African dish. It's like the base of that.
Okay.
So
very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
A sofrito. That's what I was trying to think.
Yes,
so it's basically like a sofrito.
Okay.
But it's peppers, red peppers, sometimes spicy peppers, and then tomatoes, onions, and then you add like bouillon, chicken. It's really good.
And being a big popular dish, does that vary like all over the place between heat and region and everything?
Yeah, and then also just parents, right? So like someone's mom might make it this way, someone's other mom might make it. So some people will put like a dried fish in it. That wasn't my favorite, but yeah, some people would put a dried fish in it. Some people would do like tripe, so they would put that in it. Some people would make it very spicy. Some people would make it mild. Sometimes you would use, like in America, we use mostly like vegetable oil. to cook the sofrito, but in like Nigeria, that's like pretty expensive to find like regular vegetable oil, so they use like palm oil. It's not the best for you, but it has like gives it a really dark red flavor, red color. It's like a saturated fat, and so it's probably not as good for you, but does taste pretty good. And so it's lots of different variations of it, but it's pretty much the same major ingredients.
And then what kind of meat is usually in there?
So it could be anything from beef to chicken to goat, and it's usually kind of depending on like how well you're doing. It'll be the quality of the meat. So like if you're doing well, you might have some really good steak in there and beef. Maybe not so much. You'll have more like dried fish, or you might have some like fish in there. And so it really depends. Some people are vegetarians, and there won't be any meat in there.
Okay, awesome. That's
goat meat
cool.
is really big too, so that's like a very common one you'll find.
Yeah, right on. And then I kind of get into some of your adult eats and stuff, but like what changed growing up? Like, did your palate open, Be'Anka, and you're like, you're in San Jose, so like we got a nice melting pot here.
Yeah, I would say my palate expanded in large part because of Dap. He's much more of a foodie than I am. I like to eat, and he likes to cook, and so that's a good pairing. But I can usually go to a restaurant, really enjoy it, love it so much, and then someone will ask me, "Oh my God, what'd you get?" And I'll be like, I don't remember, because what I will remember is the conversations we had and what I was wearing and how great the waiter was. Like those are the things. I'm always about the experience, even though having great food is part of that too. I just kind of roll it all into one. So I grew up eating a lot of Mexican food too, just because we're here, right? So as I got older, Mexican was a lot of what we ate, burritos and enchiladas and things. I say when you're from San Jose, you're either eating a lot of Mexican food, Latin food, or Asian food. And so when I was like college years, maybe after college, that's when I got more into Asian food. So a lot of Vietnamese food. That's when I started eating a lot of pho, and then got into ramen and more sushi. But again, it's not like I even have a favorite food. I just will eat whatever's good.
Yeah, and it's not hard to find down here.
It is not hard to find. There's plenty of food everywhere.
Yeah. And do you get? How about you, Dap?
So yeah, I feel like, lucky, really lucky and blessed to be from San Jose, which, like you said, has a melting pot and like really good food. And I was really into like French cuisine for a long time, and like just because of like the technique and learning how to cook, like a lot of the books you read, it's like it comes from like that technique.
Yeah, the base. Yeah.
And then I started to learn. I got a job on at the Good Guys on Tully Road in San Jose, which is like a very Vietnamese like community, and like I would say probably 80% of our customers were Vietnamese, and a lot of the people I worked with. So we would go out to eat, and they would take me to Vietnamese restaurants, and I started to see the like huge crossover of like French cuisine and Vietnamese cooking, and like really like fell into it, and like I love Vietnamese food, and so felt really lucky to be in a place where they had like so much stuff to choose from, different places to go. So I was really into that. And then also, like Be'Anka said, obviously we have, pretty good Mexican food here.
The best.
Yeah, I would say some of the best. I'd argue we're up there in 1s, 2s, 3s in the country. So
yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously our LA and San Diego folks will argue even more because they're closer
right
to the source, but
yeah, I think those are the only two other places that could compete. But I feel like there's just something different about the San Jose Mexican food.
Community.
So.
Yeah.
Agree. And then the Vietnamese community for sure.
Yeah.
And my friend Chef 2, shout out to Chef 2, he would agree as well. Like he's Vietnamese and grew up in Oakland, so
oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like he understands like how it just everything's just kind of intertwined, and then like everyone gets to experience it, and then I'm still learning about it and learning more recipes and stuff, and the food's it's so good.
Yeah. It's so good.
And I even tell people when they don't feel good to go have some pho,
Oh, absolutely.
If you're feeling a little sick,
let's
go just get the basic chicken or beef pho, and should
bring you back.
Set you on the path.
Yeah. Bring you back. It's brought me back many a night, many a mornings.
Yeah, and towards the end, we'll get into this. You guys can shout out some local spots and stuff. We'll do that towards the end, and we'll kind of get into your history. We kind of figured out how you guys got into it, but give us the history of Nirvana Soul and your roles, and let's go into that. Yeah.
Nirvana Soul is a labor of love. It is a community. It's us bringing people together really through the power of coffee and tea. So I started Nirvana Soul with my sister a couple years back. We had our grand opening September 26, 2020. Mm-hmm. But we had been working towards opening Nirvana Soul together for the previous 2 years before that. And Jeronica has been in coffee for a total of 20 years. So she's always wanted to open her own coffee shop and had the name Nirvana Soul for 10 years before we even opened. So this has been a really long time dream come true. And after we opened to so much love from the community. So many people showed up for us. And that love and that support has really propelled us to expand in such a short amount of time. We opened our roastery within the first year or so. And then we just opened our second location in Cupertino this year in April. So we are just rolling and taking every opportunity that comes our way and popping up and doing events now and being part of the community in so many ways, through art, through music, through the tech scene. We're just bringing people together, and that's all we want to do.
Yeah. And talk about your great-grandmother as far as inspiration for the shop.
My great-grandmother raised us in large part while my mom was away at work. And so every morning we spent with her, she would make her own coffee, Folgers, of course, and she'd have me, my sister, and my brother there. And at the end of her coffee, she would divide it up for us in a few cups. We would add in a bunch more water and sugar and milk and make it to a way where I'm sure it was not drinkable to any adult, but for kids, It was awesome.
And you guys are how old?
We were young. We were very young.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine how young we were, but I would say down in the 4 to 8 age range. Mm-hmm. And so we would all sit with her every single morning and have coffee together. And it was just a communal experience that we wanted to create for other people. We think coffee is just a joyful experience that should be shared. We like coffee because you have to slow down to drink it, especially like something hot. We also serve tea here for a lot of the same reason. It just slows you down, and it's so soothing and so calming. And so that comes from that time we spent with our grandma, who just made time in her days at the start of every day. Yeah.
And, talking about the vibe of the shop, that was one thing I wanted to ask you guys. Like, how did you guys come up with this vibe? Because I love it. Everything about it. You walk in the door, it's inviting, you're kind of comfortable already. There's lounge chairs, there's places to sit, and there's art on the wall. It's closed right now, but there's usually music playing. Like, how did you guys come up with that? Because, there's a lot of shops out there. So how did you come up with your concept?
We just wanted Nirvana Soul to feel like home, really. And we wanted it to be representative of the relationship that Jeronica and I have. So Jeronica's been in this industry. She's worked at a lot of different shops herself, from, first to third wave and specialty and everything in between. And I think what we thought was unique about us is that we are family owned, we're sisters, we're Black. We have a sense of humor about life, I think, that just makes us more vibrant. And so we wanted to capture that. And the first things we knew we wanted were fuchsia ceilings and green tile. And once you go in a direction like that, you gotta keep going, right? Like you gotta feel that in. And we were able to work with the local artist community here in SOFA, so the South of First Arts District. We have murals that are just beneath us downstairs in our main floor that were the first things that we did here. So it's like a Ricardo Gutierrez Kierczewski did our first mural down there, which is the fusion of both of our heads. And that was one of his original designs that he just sort of found a home with us here, added the beans to the hair, and it was just Nirvana Soul. Now it's become sort of like a secondary logo. And then Emilio Cortez, DJ Too Tall, did our black and white mural. So they both have done murals for us at both shops and at the roastery. And you'll see those images in stickers and on merchandise and everywhere. From there, we just had artists reach out to us on Instagram. And so we change our exhibit every 3 months. So we have had over 52 artists now exhibit in our stores.
Awesome.
And they're primarily a good 90% plus are women and people of color. A lot of folks who've never exhibited anywhere else. They just, again, found a home here. So all of this is about us building this together. You know, I started our blog and our social media channels early on in the 2 years that we were building Nirvana Soul. And so once we did open, a lot of people did feel like they built this with us because they kind of did. And so this isn't just our space. We're here to share it with everyone else who's dreaming and doing and has something they want to do that's super special.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you about the blog. That you started that to kind of give you a space to talk about Nirvana Soul, right?
Absolutely. We just wanted to document our journey, and we wanted to hold ourselves accountable. So we would just share the good, bad, and ugly. Everything that came up, we would just write about, and we would distribute that on our social media channels that we started at the same time. And little by little, we just started getting followers. And, you know, Jeronica likes to say it was one of those things that because we were so visible and so vocal about what we were doing, people would come up to us and ask, like, when are you guys opening? And I saw this thing is going on, or even give us suggestions. Like, you guys should start selling beans online while you're waiting. That's not something we thought about doing before we opened. And so, yeah, the blog was a huge part of our initial journey. And now we're sort of shifting gears with the blog to getting more into talking about the quality of our coffee and how we're creating more joyful experiences. So the story is not just about me and Jeronica building anymore, right? We're now running a business and growing a business, and we have to start telling that story.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then we'll briefly get into it, but you guys opened during a pandemic.
We did.
What was that like?
It was wild. And,
I mean,
Dap can speak to it too.
It's September 2020. Dap, why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. I wasn't intentional. So when we started, we thought, you know, I don't even think COVID had hit yet when we had signed our SBA loan. Yeah, and so we were getting ready. We had come to terms with the owner of the building that we were taking over, and I think shelter in place kind of like came. We thought, oh well, it'll just be a few weeks, you know, and then we'll get back to normal, and we all know how that turned out.
Yeah.
And we had an opportunity to like get out of escrow and not do it, and we just decided like, hey, look, it's going to be hard either way. Whether we do it now, whether we do it later, it's going to be hard. Let's just keep going forward. And we said nothing was going to stop us. So like even this wild one in a lifetime, you know, circumstance, we'll get through it. And we were just blessed that when we finally did open, people, the community really came out and supported us. We had like a line down the street for like 3 hour long line.
Wow.
We couldn't believe it. Yeah, we were like, if just a few people show up, it'll be a win. We'll be open. The doors will be open. We can start figuring things out. And there was just like such an outpour from the community of support that we couldn't believe it. And we felt, I think that also gave us the feeling of like, yeah, we're on the right track of what, you know, we want to build. And so that gave us the motivation to continue to like push and go out, open up the roastery, open up the second store, and continue, because we could see how it was impacting people in the community. We could see how it was impacting our employees. And so we realized that, yeah, this is something that the city needs and that the people need. And I think, you know, really everyone needs. I think like Be'Anka touched on, you know, coffee is one of those things that brings all types of people together. So when you looked at that line that we had, there was young people, there was old people, there was black people, there was white people, there was rich people, there was poor people. There was all different types of people in that line. And they all really were coming for the same thing, coffee and community and good experiences. And so, like, once you see how, like, connected we are as people by, like, those simple things, it makes it very easy to go out and, like, you know, try to do more.
Yeah. And coffee's all over the world, and that's a reflection of that. And let's get into the coffee. Where do we start? You know, you have a ton of different blends. You have coffee from all over. Who comes up with that, and who's looking for all the coffee? How's that go?
This is totally Dap and head roaster Alex.
Yeah.
Alex joined us right after we opened the roastery, and they were from another specialty coffee company here in San Jose, and was super supportive of us since before we opened. They had a relationship with Jeronica, and just really wanted to see us grow and thrive and make a splash in this space that looks nothing like us.
Yeah.
And so once they found out we were opening our own roastery, they were like, I have to be a part of this. And we have been so grateful ever since. So, yeah, Alex and Dap work together in the roastery.
Dive into the coffee and, where you're sourcing it, what kinds of coffee you got.
Yeah.
And you've got a lot of blends, and we'll get into the menu in a little bit. But, yeah, tell us about the coffee.
Definitely, yeah. So for us, when we started the roastery, Alex and myself, we had a conversation, and we really talked about making specialty coffee more accessible. And so for us, coming up with the blends and coming up with the coffee that we use, it's not as much about doing things that are way out there, I guess, like on the specialty side. Like it's very easy. Like we're both really big like coffee nerds, so we can really get into these like crazy anaerobic processed coffees, these very rare coffees. But a lot of those coffees are not accessible to everyone. And not only that, it kind of downplays some of the nostalgia of like coffee. And there's some styles of coffee that people enjoy just because it reminds them of a time, it reminds them of people. And so we try to have something that kind of like speaks to everyone. So we have everything from our like medium roast blends, house blends that we think are very that like speak to everyone. They if you like a dark roast, you'll like it. If you like a light roast, you'll like it. Everything in between. We have dark roast coffee for those people that are really into that style. And then we have some really great single origins that we source from either directly from farmers. So we have a Guatemalan, 2 Guatemalans actually right now, that we get directly from a farmer that we have a direct relationship with. It's amazing to have that. It's very rare to be able to pick up coffee directly from the person that grew it. And so that's great. Then we also work with wholesalers that also share the same view we do about having direct relationships with farmers. And so we have African coffees and Ethiopian, Kenyan coffee. We have both naturals and washed coffees. And like our approach to roasting is really just trying to bring the most out of the coffee naturally. We like to buy really good coffee and then try to get out of its way as much as possible. And so I think that really like correlates to like good cooking. I think when, you talk to a lot of chefs, that's kind of their philosophy is, find really good ingredients, great ingredients, and get out of the way and let them shine. And so that's kind of what we like to do with the coffee.
That's awesome. And then, who comes up with the blends? You and Alex?
So, yeah, I think Alex is, definitely more of the taster and developer of, like, the blends. I do more of the coffee buying, and so I'm more into, like, trying to figure out, okay, based off of, our product selection now, where are some areas where we can fill? So, like, for example, we just brought in a Kenyan natural light roast that we haven't had anything like that. And so we've had customers that are, have been interested in something that's a little bit lighter and more of a filtered coffee that they can, they can brew at higher temperatures. So that was like an area. But I think when it comes down to really tasting and cupping, I really have a lot of trust in Alex's palate. And so we tend to lean heavily on that.
Awesome. And the roastery is in another separate location, right?
Yes. It's in North San Jose.
Okay.
Yeah, and so it was a really cool story. We actually, in the beginning, had a partner that we roasted with, and it was a great partnership, but they decided to move to Sacramento, and it was really important for us to roast the coffee here in San Jose. And so we tried to work out a deal. We tried to figure something out. We couldn't, and so we decided, we should just open up a roastery. And things fell into place. Like we wanted to buy we wanted a Loring roaster. We call it the bean machine. That's because also it's weird, like the roasting machine is called a roaster and the person who operates the roasting machine is also called a roaster. So it can be confusing.
Have to separate,
Yeah. So we have Alex, the head roaster, and we have the bean machine. But yeah, so the Loring, it was, it's a great machine. And you can make great coffee on any kind of machine, but for us, it was really important because of the sustainability, the energy efficiency, and some of the things that you can do with this machine we thought was like really important to what we were trying to do with coffee. But we knew there was like a huge lead time on getting one. So we had put in an order, hoping that maybe like by the next year, we would be able to get one. Then the situation happened where we had to like kind of push up our timeline to open up the roastery. And I called our salesperson and said, hey, I apologize. I think we're gonna have to cancel our order because we actually need a roaster now. And so, they said, oh, sorry to hear that. And the next day I got a call and said, like timing is perfect because right after I talked to you, I went into a meeting and one of the roasters that we had scheduled to go out in June in like a month, they don't need it until they don't need it for another year. So if you could take it today, it's yours.
Wow.
Yeah, and so like things and we've had so many of these like moments like that through this journey that have just like just shown us that we're like on the right path and that we're doing the right thing. And so so it was great. So and so we were able to move right into the same location we were at. Basically gut it out and rebuild it with a new machine, and it's been great.
Is that open for tours or anything like that, Be'Anka?
It will be open for tours and starting at the beginning of next year.
Okay.
Yep.
And coffee over there as well, maybe?
We won't have a shop in there. I think there's probably some zoning issue for that, but there will be coffee to drink and taste. So we are always going to have that available to you. But I think
just kind of show everybody.
Yeah, we'll show everyone what it looks like because it is something that I think people aren't familiar with and very curious about. In fact, we posted on our social media asking if people would be interested, and they're talking about everything from date nights and all kinds of things, right? Because it is a curiosity. And then I think what's going to be really special for people is to hear directly from Alex and Dap describing what they're doing, how they're doing it, what they're looking for, and really matching those stories and all of the things that go into choosing the coffee and creating it, matching that to what people are tasting right there on the spot. And so I got a chance to go to that tour not too long ago, the full thing with a group that came in from a company. And it is a really cool experience. And so we're super excited to open it up. Alex is ready to host people in there too. And you can't often get them talking, but in that situation, they will definitely tell you everything there is to know about coffee.
That's cool. I mean, and that's not something you always get the behind the scenes. Usually when you walk in a coffee shop, if there's a roaster there, it's done.
Yeah.
It's that roaster was gone, been and done, and you're drinking their coffee already, and no one's on it. It's, it's all quiet.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see, the process more, and that's kind of why I asked you about that. And Be'Anka, I noticed you're a big tea drinker. Is that right?
I am a big tea drinker. Yes. So I'm very caffeine sensitive.
Okay.
Though I will do it on a long weekend or something because I love it so much.
Yeah.
Because I'm a tea drinker, Jeronica came up with our tea menu, and now it's been added to by other members of the team. Like Letty has a couple of tea drinks on there as well because she's also caffeine sensitive. And so my favorite drink is named after me. It's the Bee's Tea. It's a mint tea with peach syrup, steamed lemonade, and honey, and it's delicious. I hear it's also good iced, but I am a hot tea drinker, hot coffee drinker, no matter what the weather. But you can come in for either here, and guaranteed you're going to find something good. We're not just going to give you a tea bag and water here. We just don't do that.
Yeah, you guys, I mean, we can get into the menu items, and then we're definitely going to talk to Dap about the waffles.
Oh, yeah.
The waffle master over here. But, you guys have an extensive menu from, just even the specialty coffees. I mean, there's Celebration Latte, Dirty Diana, the Golden Child, Honey Lavender Latte, Mabuhay Ube Latte, going with the Filipinos over there. Mm-hmm. Caramel apple latte, the hazelnut mocha, which I've had. That's really good. I think my wife had the honey lavender. She liked that one. And then
banana chai.
How do you choose the coffee that goes into those?
So
Do you figure out like you're going to use a base coffee for those?
Yeah, so our base coffee is our espresso blend, our Nirvana blend,
Yeah.
and so we developed that to be a very versatile coffee, and so it's a blend of Ethiopian, Sumatra, and Colombian coffee.
Okay.
And we roast it. It's like a medium roast, but well developed. So it cuts through milk, so we can use it in like some of our like more flavorful drinks like the ube latte and celebration. But it also stands alone for like an Americano or an espresso as well. So that's traditionally what we're using in most of those coffees. Then we have our Africano, which sometimes can use a single origin African coffee. And that's just a little bit more coffee forward and usually meant for people who really are looking for something that is going to like highlight, very much highlight the coffee and be more coffee forward.
Yeah, and obviously we know Be'Anka has her favorite tea. Do you have a favorite on the menu, coffee-wise or?
Oh, so right now, I'm very much like a trends person. So I go through like time. So right now,
Phases,
phases. So right now I'm in the been doing the apple pie chai with I'm a big like espresso person. So like 4 shots, a very very dirty, a filthy
Apple pie chai.
Yeah, filthy apple pie chai.
Wow.
So 4 shots of espresso.
Very cool.
Yeah, but really, really good. The banana chai also is, I call it the dark horse favorite. Whenever we go to events, people are like, oh,
Skeptical.
they're like, wait, banana chai? And by the end of the events, they're bringing their friends, they're bringing their coworkers, and they're like, oh, you have to try this. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, you get some cool, and then in the tea-wise, there's like Lover's Quarrel, the Serotonin Sunrise. I mean, the names are cool too, but like Nirvana Peach has got green tea and peach. The Lover's Quarrel is chai, milk, rose. Is that rose water?
It's like a rose syrup.
Rose syrup, cayenne, and beet. Yeah, that's another thing I was going to ask. Maybe Be'Anka can get into it, but like you guys use a lot of beet in some of your drinks. How did that come about?
I would say that's probably from Jeronica.
Yeah.
So I think when we opened around that time, beet lattes were sort of gaining in some popularity in super specialty coffee.
Yeah.
And what we want to do in making coffee more accessible is have drinks that are approachable, but also push you a little bit so that you're willing to take some risks. So maybe someone doesn't want a beet latte in its entirety, right? But if we can mix it into something else, it still does the same thing in pushing you a little out of your comfort zone and experimenting with some of the other things that are happening in specialty coffee. And so we're always sort of serving those two things. We want coffee to be less intimidating. We want people to come in here and know that they're welcomed and they can ask questions and get those questions answered. And that if they try something, it's going to be good. And if they don't care for it, we'll just make them something else.
Awesome. And then there are a few things to eat on the menu. Chef Dap, tell us about the waffles.
Yeah, the waffles were very interesting. So when we were opening, Jeronica had been working in specialty coffee for a while, and at the time, avocado toast was like the thing.
Yeah.
Everyone was doing avocado.
Everywhere.
Yeah,
Yep.
everywhere. And so we kind of made a very conscious effort to not do avocado toast, but we wanted to do something that was like, different, or so we wanted to have something that, people could come in and reliably like get. So Jeronica said, let's do waffles. And so she asked me, she's like, Dad, can you come up with some ideas on some waffles, like savory and then also sweet waffles? And so I think I started to like experiment with different things. And I think a lot of it came to just like where we're at. We're in San Jose, and so I always go by like downtown, especially during like Christmas in the park and other events, and you see the guys outside with the churros. Love churros, and so I was like, a churro waffle would be really, really amazing. So we I think that was the first one that like I was like, okay, for sure, we're doing a churro waffle.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, let's go with something like more savory. And I had recently had a bacon cheddar scone, which was really good. And I was like, man, this would be great in a coffee shop. So I was like, let's try like a bacon cheddar waffle. That worked out really great. And then I wanted to do something else that was savory, but like maybe a little more culturally, significant, especially being in San Jose. And so I thought of like, I love like chorizo burritos in the morning. I'll go to like, either with a cafe Rosalina or La Vix and get a chorizo burrito. And so I was like, maybe a chorizo waffle. And I found this really great Spanish chorizo that we could use in the store that didn't have to be like cooked on site. And then experimented with some different cheeses, and I found this like Oaxacan cheese that was just worked really well, and added jalapenos, and it was just like, it just became like, I think all of our favorite waffles like for a long time.
Wow.
Yeah, so good. It just like everything works really well together, and you think like people are, again, like Be'Anka said, to push people outside of their comfort zone. When we first opened, we really had to tell people like, hey, just try it. Let's try it. Yeah, I promise you it's good. They're like, I don't know. And there's just something about the sweetness and the savoriness of like the syrup and all of those ingredients. It goes so good together.
Damn. And I always tell people, don't listen to this podcast hungry, because all we're going to be talking about by the time you're done is food. And then, so obviously the churro waffle is like the first one on the list, and you've got some other ones. You got basic golden waffle, and then you got some oats and stuff. And then you do have pastries as well. Is that coming from, are you guys making that, or are you guys getting that from a source? So how's that come about?
Our pastries come from the French Spot.
French Spot, okay.
So they are, I want to say South San Francisco or Belmont area or something like that.
That's where they were, and they just actually opened up a new location in San Francisco.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
And the chef there, the pastry chef, worked with Jeronica at LinkedIn before the pandemic. So they were friends there, colleagues there. I think he was running the pastry kitchen. And so after the pandemic and everyone got let go from LinkedIn, they both were starting their own businesses and decided to go in this together. So we provide some coffee and they provide our pastries.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, that covers the entire menu. Is there anything that you think we didn't go over, or that, a lot of people don't know about, maybe you guys, about Nirvana? Or
I would say a lot of our menu was created by Jeronica up front, but it has since been added to by members of our team who are very creative. The Mabuhay Latte really is representative of the large Filipino team we have here. And that was created by someone on our team. We've done barista specials on a monthly basis for a while, where you can try things that would have like Kool-Aid or something else different that's just significant to members of the team. And we've also had input from customers. So we are just open to anything that tastes good, that is balanced, that other people will enjoy. And Jeronica's motto for things like that is let the people decide. Let's put it on the menu and see how it goes. And a few things have been made menu just from people asking for it constantly. Right?
Yeah.
So it is a collaborative effort, like through and through, with the community, with our team, customers, the events we go to. Everyone sort of plays a role in making the menu as special as it is.
Yeah, and speaking of events, you guys were at the San Francisco Coffee Fest. How was that?
Oh, yeah.
It was incredible. It was unlike anything I've ever been a part of. I've been in marketing my entire career and been to so many events in tech, but to see people there for something they love so much, and of course be just amped up and hyped because they're drinking coffee at the same time and reaching out to you with shaky hands and another cup and wanting more. It just was really fun and energizing, and our first time. So we really made a splash there. We had a great location. We brought our vibrant pink and everything that is Nirvana Soul in this shop. We just took it to Coffee Fest.
Yeah.
And we got to sort of show other parts of this area what San Jose was about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then some of the things I noticed that you guys have you have two of your own hashtags. One of them is Jeronica. You can explain that one. And then the other one is self-care in a cup, which is kind of your motto. But why don't you tell us about those?
So Jeronica is me and my sister's celebrity couple name.
Yeah. Okay.
So it just fuses our names together, Jeronica and Be'Anka, which made Jeronica because it was way easier to write out.
Sure.
And so, yes, that is our celebrity couple name. Self-care in a cup is really what Nirvana Soul is about. Like at the simplest level, this is how you take time for yourself. before the pandemic, way before Nirvana Soul even opened, we sat down and we talked through what our mission and our values would be for this shop. And what we were contending with then, which is crazy, is that loneliness was at an all-time high, like years before the pandemic, where it just exacerbated that trend like further. And so we were like, this should be an opportunity where you can come in, you can talk to people, you can meet people, and you can really pour into yourself just by having a cup of coffee. And so that's really what self-care in a cup meant to us. Like, take care of yourself, take a moment for yourself, escape the hustle and bustle from outside, and come in here where you will feel welcomed, invited, and like home.
Awesome. And then speaking of community and stuff and where we're at, why don't you guys let us know some of your favorite local spots and even some of the community charities, any of the stuff that you guys want to let people know about that's out here?
Yeah, definitely. So as far as like local spots that I think we're very fond of the Sofa district. Obviously we're here, and so there's some, places that we've seen really take off and just like really show what the Sofa district can be. One is Mama Kin's. They opened a little after us, and obviously and often a tough time, but they're doing a great job over there, bringing live music, bringing open mics and things back to the area, showing how artistic of a location this is, which has been great. We have on this same street, we have a partner that we work with, Guild House. So we have a signature drink called the Soul Caliber that they use our cold brew for.
They're a gaming room.
It's a gaming room.
Nice.
Yeah, and so they do. Yeah, it's a really cool gaming room, gaming lounge. They have great drinks. They do all sorts of games, everything from board games to like RPG to video games and computer games. It's a great venue. Been part of a wedding there before, and so it's like it's an amazing
That's
venue.
cool.
Really cool people.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah. So those are two that just stand out on the block that I can really speak to.
I would say Sofa Market in itself has so much in there. Havana, Cuba is somewhere we love. Hawaiian Poke Bowl is great in there.
Yeah,
Vietnam's
I've had the Poke
is in
Bowl.
there. Yeah, like there is just so much great food in that market, and it's sort of like the little brother, little sister to San Pedro Square, of course.
Yeah.
But it has great things, and I think our team is often in there.
Yeah, and then there's a Portuguese restaurant down at the end.
Yeah, Petisco's.
Petisco's. And believe it or not, they actually own another restaurant in San Jose that is, I believe, the only Michelin star rated restaurant in San Jose.
I didn't even know they own that too.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
Bodega. So yeah, it's a really cool location. And then they have like I think a bakery in the area also. But that's definitely a place to check out if you really want some good eats.
Awesome. And you guys mentioned the classic La Vic, of course.
Oh, yeah.
If you're in San Jose, you
yeah.
have to know La Vic's.
Yeah.
And then just a quick question about are you guys still doing Nirvana Soul After Dark?
We are doing Nirvana Soul After Dark.
Talk about that a little bit before we close it out.
That is our own open mics that we have been hosting for the last year or so. So every Thursday night we do a poetry night, and that's hosted by Trin, who is one of our shift leads and baristas here. And her sister, Aish, hosts the Friday open mic, which is a mixed mic of poetry, music, and comedy. So those are 7 to 9 p.m. Thursday and Friday, every Thursday and Friday. Anyone can come and sign up. It is such a great environment for this. You will be encouraged. You will be supported. We are not here to heckle or bring anyone down. It is literally a place to come to really express yourself and know that you're going to get a ton of love in this room.
Yeah, and then sometimes you're doing music too, right? Like, are you bringing in any like music artists or anything or like a DJ night or something? We
used to have concert series or local artists come and do concerts, and we haven't done that in favor of doing more open mics.
Yeah.
So more folks that are still sort of trying to come up or looking for a space to just get their poetry out. We wanted to create more space for that.
That's awesome. And then, Dap, I'll give you the gear tool question. I always ask all my guests, there's usually a favorite tool or something that's used all the time. Do you have a favorite?
Ooh, that's a good question. Favorite tool? I would say it's hard for me to narrow it down. But I am.
Doesn't have to be one. You can,
Yeah, I would say
can go
okay. I guess a couple of them.
Mandolin.
Yeah.
Is I use a mandolin a lot.
I knew.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I know it can be a dangerous tool, but it saves so much time, and like you get really uniform cuts of things, and so I've used that a lot. Microplane is a big one that I use, and then recently I finally broke down and got an air fryer, and I have not. I kind of just been like on the sidelines watching the air fryer kind of fiasco go about, and it's kind of like I have a convection oven. I don't really need that, and it's something to be said about being able to just pop in some old fries and heat them back up to 90% quality.
It's kind of crazy. I'm on the same boat. I'll use other friends'. I refuse still to buy one, but I was using one yesterday and I was like, okay, all right. I mean, we did a reverse sear steak in it.
Oh,
Wow.
An Australian Wagyu steak, reverse seared. So cook it first, low temp, 45 minutes, perfect temperature, pull it out, sear it, and then slice it up. And it was, I was like, wow, that's okay. I'm impressed.
yeah.
And then you tell people you use the air fryer for 90% of the cooking. They're like, what? What's going on?
Yeah.
Cool. Very cool. And then, we'll close it out. The floor is yours. You can give any advice, promotions, anything you want to say. The mic is yours.
I'm going to, in the same way we always do, which is the little motivation. So the thing that helped us through when we were trying to build our business was constantly reminding ourselves that we can do hard things. And that is written on all the walls of all of our spaces. And we hope that encourages and inspires you too, because you can do hard things. So please come and visit us. We're in downtown San Jose in the Sofa District, and we are in Main Street, Cupertino. And we have more shops to come. We're excited to be where you are.
Awesome. Dap?
I'm gonna leave it out even simpler than that. Eat and drink San Jose.
There we go. Yeah. And then something I also read that Be'Anka says is life is a maze, not a tunnel. Something like that, right?
Life is a maze, not a tunnel.
Yeah.
Was that from me?
I think so.
Oh, my gosh. I'm so good.
Yeah. And you're right. You're right. Just
It
get
is.
out
It's
there.
up and down. You just got to keep at it, right?
Yeah.
Like, that was the only thing that it really worked for us, was to keep putting one foot in front of the other. And Jeronica will say, like, the difference between people who are successful and those who aren't is the people who are successful just kept going.
Yeah.
That's really it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for listening. We're out.
Thank you.
Thank
Take
you.
care. And as a quick reminder, the restaurants and gear talked about on each episode can be found on my website, foodoriginspodcast.com. I appreciate your support, and thanks for listening.